Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. Today we celebrate the 100th episode of the Protecting Your Nest podcast, an episode to reflect on the Protecting Your Nest principles, the principles that remind us of the things we must do to avoid a life of chronic medical conditions by simply remembering two simple acronyms, which are the nest and rope. The nest reminds us to eat well, exercise, avoid stress, get enough sleep, and protect our minds from the traumas of the past as well as the negative thinking that hinders us today. The rope reminds us to nurture the healthy relationships in our lives, protect ourselves from harmful organisms and pollutants, and of course, to make sure we hold on to what we've learned from our life experiences while making sure to protect our emotions. What better way to celebrate my 100th episode than to have my lovely wife, Karon, join me as we focus on the R in the ROPE acronym, which reminds us to have and to nurture the healthy relationships in our lives. From the moment we entered this world, we are dependent on the many people in our lives. And I am so thankful to have a partner who walks alongside me, someone to share life's journey and to love. So if you like love stories, here's your chance to hear ours. Today's guest is Karon Hampton. Karon is a pharmacist with Walmart and a graduate of Xavier University in Louisiana for both undergraduate and pharmacy education. She is the proud mom of our two sons, Justin and Brandon, who will be graduating from undergraduate and graduate schools just a week prior to the release of this episode from Washington University in St. Louis. More recently, Karon is spreading her wings as an actress and has performed in 2 plays over the last year, including Mika Scrooge and Speaking of the Devil. I am so proud of her and thrilled she will be joining me today. And with that, Karon, I welcome you to the Protecting Your Nest podcast.
Well, thank you. And I really am excited about being a part of this journey. And definitely to celebrate our boys or our young men's accomplishments and your 100th episode accomplishment. So thank you.
Absolutely. I love that. And I am just as excited. Long time coming to get you to the podcast. And I can't believe it's 100 episodes. That's like unbelievable. So let's kind of introduce you to the audience. Maybe just a couple of thoughts about, where you're from. I know you're a Southern Belle, so maybe you can let people know where you're from. And then from there, we'll talk a little bit about our relationship.
Cool. So I am a Southern Belle. I am from Mississippi. Grew up in the country as well as the city part, as I like to tell everyone. I have a younger sister and tons of aunts and uncles, and just a very supportive family. So I really love that about my family. And one thing that my mom, God rest her soul, really stressed for us or to us was just to make sure that we spread love. So one of the things that I laugh about with us and our young men, as well as your family and my family, is aware that when I tell them I love you, they cannot say I love you too, because that's just regurgitating what I say. You can love me 3, 4, and 5, but you cannot love me too. So,
Yeah.
but with that being said, I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta. So just a lot of exciting things and new ventures and things like that that I'm exploring for this part of my life. So again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll do a shout out to you right away because prior to you becoming part of my life, the word love was not echoed on a regular basis. I think we all loved each other in my family, but with you, we couldn't even hang up the phone without saying I love you. So it became a universal theme in the family. And I really appreciate that because my boys know that if they don't say that, they will get a call back. And I think that's some good parenting on your part. So before we, begin and talk a little bit about our journey together. And by the way, for all those who are listening to this episode, we will have this episode on YouTube as usual. However, it may be a great one to check out because we'll have some nice slides to reflect on. So if you want to see a little bit more of us in a cartoon form, I think you'll get a kick out of that. So anyway, I thought, we should, share 2 books that have helped us in our marriage. And as any person listening already knows, there will be times when you face challenges in your relationship, and when those moments occur, it's nice to have resources to help put things back together, and even better, keep things from falling apart. So that first resource I want to share with you guys is The Five Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. And in that book, he shows couples how to make their love last by learning to recognize the unique way their partner feels loved. Dr. Gary Chapman is a marriage counselor who has, found a proven method for making love last. He has like 3 lessons in his book, and I'll just share those briefly. Number 1, as your relationship matures, communication is key. Number 2, there are 5 different ways people give and show love. And those are words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And the third message in his book is the importance of identifying yours and your partner's love language to deepen intimacy. So I really encourage you guys to consider that book if you haven't checked it out. I actually looked it up a little bit before this podcast, and it's still like in the top 100 books. And that's amazing for a book that's been around for quite some time. The second resource, which is maybe even more valuable because it's kind of like evidence-based. As a clinician, I'm always talking about it's got to be evidence-based, and that's what Dr. Gottman did in the 7 principles for making marriage work. And he did extensive research over 4 decades on divorce prediction and marital stability. So the 7 principles for making marriage work is based on the findings that Gottman obtained from his, what he calls the Love Lab. Through developing this lab, he was able to discover and could predict, and this is the amazing part, 91% accuracy. I want you to really pause and hear that statistical reality. So he can predict which marriages will succeed and which will fail. He could predict this after watching how couples spoke and related to each other. And sometimes he could predict it within 5 minutes, which is amazing. So this book, has 7 principles. And those principles, if utilized, can help guide you towards the type of long-lasting relationship that you would want to have. And so I really think those 2 books are incredibly useful. And I think that as we start our love, journey with you, as you walk with us today, those are 2 books that should be available to you. So let's kind of start the story of Karon and Tony. And I want to thank Karon for gifting me with this wonderful book that had us both looking like cartoon characters. And but in that book, she was able to kind of tell the story of us, and I really appreciate that. So as you kind of take a look at this story, the first thing that she shares, and we want to comment on a little bit, is how we met. And do you remember, Karon? It was the summer of 1988. Seems like forever ago. What you want to share about how we finally, kind of started our relationship as
Sure, definitely. So I'd known Tony, because of course we went to school together, but didn't know him in the way of, oh wow, he's cute. So I know one day I was on my way to the cafeteria, and I love telling the story that I'm getting ready to go in, and he opens the door for me, and I'm like, wow, that's nice. And then that summer it was not planned for me to go to summer school, but I decided to take some classes, and you were there doing research. So I'd taken some classes, and then we were one day we were walking or doing something because we kind of lived in the same apartment complex, and there were like an abundance of people asking for money and just homeless people. So it kind of touched a nerve on us in a way that, wow, why can't we help? Why can't we do something to make this world a little better place? So that summer of 88 is when yourself and I, amongst a lot of other friends, kind of connected in a way that we had not connected before. So it got me a chance to know you a little better as a person versus, oh yeah, he's in one of my classes kind of things. And then besides, I thought you were cute.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. It's nice to be called cute. And I do remember that chance meeting. And, we talk about life experiences with the podcast. And I just happened to be doing research. You just happened to be doing classes. And if not for that, this probably would have never happened. So it's kind of amazing how life just happens. And I do fondly remember those days. And I also remember, speaking of service and helping people, we were kind of gifted with starting the volunteer organization. Literally, me, you, and Miss Jasmine, I remember starting this organization. And I actually looked it up, and I saw that they have a Instagram, and they also have I think it was Facebook, and we'll maybe have a link to that in the show notes. So it's still going strong. And you remember how that all started, Karan?
Just based on us seeing that there was a need and wanting to help. And then knowing because I definitely had work study within that department. So knowing Miss Jasmine at that time was able to talk to her about like, well, what is it that we can do to help, kind of thing. So her getting together with yourself and the other students that were doing there during the summertime and things like that was our way of, I guess, trying to fix the world or put some of the puzzles of the pieces to make the world a better place. So we kind of started talking and doing can shakes,
Mm-hmm.
is what started the journey on that part of it to raise money and awareness of what was going on.
Yeah, after you've done can shakes, you're standing, trying to not get hit by cars, right, on the intersection. One way we made it safer is that we either had Xavier paraphernalia on, or we had our fraternity and sorority paraphernalia. And people were very generous, and just in 4 hours or so, you could raise a decent amount of money. And it was amazing how the school was literally right across the street from a community that was very underserved, and that had a lot of issues. And New Orleans as a city fits that as well. So it really gave us some awareness that we have to give back. So I really appreciate, having the opportunity, led by Miss Jasmine to do that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I also remember we had a chance to kind of start our dating experiences. And have our first date. So I'm sure you remember that. So let's talk a little bit about our first kind of date experience and what that was like. What do you remember
So
from
it
that?
was really cool because we were definitely friends first, which was really, really cool. And because we were all in this big group of us being friends and we stayed in the same complex, you and I, what started us on our little dating thing, although the flirtations and different things like that had started, was a bet. And someone had once asked, "So what was the bet?" I know I won both ways, but considering how competitive we were, it probably was who would raise the most money, possibly. So you ended up losing the bet. So the bet was whomever lose, we'd go out on a date and that person would treat. So that's what kind of started us on our little journey, the winning or losing of the bet, if depending on how you frame your picture.
Yeah,
So we went out to dinner, we did a streetcar ride, and I want to say the rest was history
that's
because
right.
from there, just googly eyes and, dating and then things like that. And then letting our friends be aware that, ooh, I really like him kind of
Mm.
thing.
I remember how I learned early in our relationship that I had to have a lot of courage, right? And the last podcast episode we had our young 20-year-old, and he talked about courage. And what I mean by that is, I remember you would challenge me, and you would say crazy things at a restaurant, like, "We're gonna dance," and I'm like, "No, we're not." I said, "We're at a restaurant. We're not at a, dance." She's like, "No, we're gonna dance," and you would literally like encourage me to get up and dance in the middle of the restaurant. And of course, we would do something, and then next thing you know, people are clapping. So you definitely took me out of my box a little bit, and I thought you were a little crazy at the time, but that's just between us. So so we start our love affair, and there's some things about that you've always shared with me. And one of the things you shared is that you like to cuddle. So talk a little bit about why you like cuddling so much.
because it warms my heart. And it just feels, as our boys when they were little would say, comfy. It's definitely comfy. It's secure. It's warm. It kind of takes away all of the stressors. So it's pretty cool.
That's all right. Now, for those who are underage, I'm not sure if I should share the next thought, but you also like spooning. So maybe we should clarify. That sounds like a cuddle too, but it's a slightly different kind of cuddle. So why do you like spooning so much?
Well, spooning definitely allows you to both physically and emotionally connect
Hmm.
in a way that's really, really cool.
Hmm.
Because depending on which way you're being spooned, if you're the one that's cuddling, holding, spooning, or the one that's being spooned, it's pretty awesome. And it just, I don't know, to me, I literally get to sense or smell you in a sense that it's pretty weird, but pretty cool.
That's cool. Well, me and your dad watch the Animal Channel a lot, so I understand all that, animal attraction stuff. So maybe not as weird as one would think. And I also want to, think about, when you're holding somebody, it's almost like making them feel secure and kind of, you know, really supporting them in a way. And one of the things that you have said to me in the past is that you felt like, okay, you're really determined, you work hard. And I also feel that you have done that too. I mean, you're a pharmacist and you've accomplished quite a bit. And but I really appreciate that part that you appreciate, because when you put so much energy into trying to achieve goals, it's nice to have a little appreciation for that. So what about this determination you saw in me that was inspiring to you?
Well, from the beginning, even when my coming to school and knowing who Tony was, it was just this big thing of he's going to be this doctor and he's determined to make everything that he touches turn to gold, pretty much. So it was like just knowing that your determination or your willingness to work hard, the ethics of that was really inspiring. And I think that, well, not think, I know that you have instilled that in our young men, which I am really proud of to say. So when you put your mind to doing something, you definitely get it done. Or as my dad say, get her done.
That's right. And you mentioned when we started that you were a proud member of the Delta sorority. And I remember when I pledged the Alpha fraternity, you were very helpful during that, crazy time. You supported me. You were like my study buddy, and you made sure that you kind of got me ready for my test. I definitely want to recall that, you can't do all this stuff by yourself. It's just not possible. No matter how determined you are, you need a team. As we are celebrating the NBA playoffs right now, you need a team to win, and I'm just happy that you're kind of there to help me along my way as well. And you also mentioned that I'm thinking about you quite a bit, and I definitely try to keep you on the forefront, particularly at work. I spend most of my day talking to patients, and a lot of times relationship issues come up. A lot of times they'll say something that'll make me think of you. And sometimes I'll even send you a message with their voice, just so you can know I'm thinking about you. But that's a really cool thing. And what's your thoughts on this idea of how we're thinking about each other throughout the day?
Well, definitely throughout the day, it warms my heart. I mean, we're definitely both busy people. So to have the time to take out a second or a couple of seconds or a minute to send a text, even if it's saying, I'm just thinking about you, or happy Wednesday, or sometimes when you definitely send me the things of the couples that have been married for 30, 40, years or so, it's pretty cool. And they're giving their advice of, what makes a positive marriage or what
Mhm.
keeps everything going. I love that, the fact that you are thinking about me, even though I always say that I'm really, really busy.
Right.
But when I'm really, really busy and I have a breathing time and I look down and see that I got this text, and it warms my heart. So thank you.
Yeah, and you actually are instrumental in that you had to. I'm a guy, so sometimes we have to be coached a little bit. So you coached me and said, "Hey, it'd be nice to hear from you," and instead of waiting till the end of the day. And what I like about doing it throughout the day, we tend to internalize and remember the things that didn't go well. So, you come home and you got a vent, right? But if you do it throughout the day, you can also incorporate those good things. And hopefully we get the habit of celebrating the positive things as well. And then because you coach me to do it, then I was able to coach my patients. So a lot, particularly the guys, like, and I'm like, look how long it takes to leave a voice message. Look how long it takes, and I'll just do it right when they're looking at me and say, you should do that sometimes. And a lot of times, they've adopted those habits as well. So it's like, so everybody's kind of coaching everybody else, and you mentioned also earlier that we kind of started out as friends, and I do recall literally it was kind of awkward for our friends to see you, particularly the guys, to see you as like my girlfriend versus one of the, guys or gals that hang with us, right? So that was, and so we kind of had to keep it quiet for a while. but, but how much does that mean to you that we did start off as friends?
I thought it meant a lot because we didn't have that awkwardness of,
Hmm.
ooh, what does he think about this or what does he think about that? It was kind of, we were friends, my goofy side, my serious side, that, ooh, when she gets angry, 0 to 10 side. So that was pretty cool that the friendship was there. And then we kind of, knew about the circles that we hang with. So sometimes the circles that you hang with also kind of reflects the whom you are. So that was pretty cool that once we started our dating or the official, oh, that's my girlfriend, boyfriend thing, there was not a lot of stressors there.
Yeah, that's true. It did feel fairly seamless to us. To the rest of the world, it didn't.
All
So,
right.
and I think that's really important to message that we really want to make sure when you're in a relationship, let's nurture and make that strong. Be cautious of what is going on around you. It could be a tornado happening on around you, and you want to have awareness of that. But you also want to make sure your foundation is between those two people. So, I am totally fans of that. One thing we have in common. And God knows we don't have a lot in common. We disagree on a lot of things, which is okay. They say opposites attract, but we like to travel. And we haven't done a lot of that because of the pandemic. But man, when I think about, for those who are listening, we have an image of us traveling in cartoon form, and we have kind of like the Eiffel Tower, get the kind of thing going on in Paris. So when you think about like your travels, in fact, let's tell a funny story. I know you remember when we went to France, we had some good friends with us. One of whom suggested that she was going to help us out with French. Right? We don't speak French, right? Oh my goodness! And when she was in a moment to show us what she got, right, she would speak English louder, thinking that that would somehow be understood as French. And so we just laughed the whole trip thinking we had somebody interpret for us, and she was and we had a great time. But I thought that was too funny. So what do you remember about that trip?
Well, definitely that was a wonderful trip. We actually had gone to Paris to a wedding of one of the residents that you were in residency with. And that was funny and hilarious because she would go to the person and say, hello. Of course, we know bonjour, but it was that was fun and hilarious, and that just the love of traveling with you also takes me back because before COVID and different pandemics, we would always have a big family trip in which it
Mm-hmm.
was our young men and your parents and just family. It was
Mm-hmm.
always that. So hopefully soon we will be getting back to that.
Absolutely. Another trip we took, and we've been blessed to take a few, was to England, and people may not know this, but when you were in England, you were able to speak their language in your own way. Now it was English, but maybe you can give your actress, so maybe you can share a little bit of how you speak when you go to England.
Well, I wasn't really speaking a particular language or anything like that. It was more so a dialect.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I mean that came about because our oldest son, Brandon, wanted to go study there for Cambridge. And so I would always watch BBC America, and I love those shows. So just picking up the dialect and just listening to it was always very, very fun. So it was quite, entertaining that I could actually do that. So I really love that.
Yeah, you are hilarious. And for those who are watching or listening, this is not just, I mean, she'll do it at the dealership. She'll do it, So we get a taste of her acting skills sometimes in settings that you don't expect. So one of the things that we started doing as a couple, because we're trying to protect our marriage and our nest in that form, is that we're doing a little self-care. And as I've trained in nutrition and functional medicine, I've learned the value of sauna because sauna helps to remove toxins, something I never learned in medical school, things like mercury. We also learned that things like massage is very therapeutic. So we decided to start getting massages maybe monthly, and it's been very interesting to say the least. So, but you love massages, so why you like massages so much, Karan?
I do because it totally relaxes you and you can just go and just relax your mind. I don't have to worry or think about anything that's going on. So I love the fact that our journey or our chapter now, we are including the massages and the saunas and things like that. When you said sauna and the first time we got in there was so hot, I
I
was like,
know.
oh my God. And you were like, you can do it. It's only 20 more minutes. I'm like, what? So, but by the end of the sauna, I was like, okay, give me some water. But we got through it and it was fun. So the very first time, it was definitely an experience. The second time, I was looking forward to, okay, we're going to do the sauna, right?
Right.
And then the massages are just, it's just excellent. And you give great massages. So thank
Thank you. I didn't go to school, but
you.
definitely it's also nice to have professionals involved. So
Yes.
I really enjoy that, not just because of the massage and the sauna in terms of the benefit, but we have to talk. You're in this little box for 30 minutes or so and you have to talk. So it really gives us a chance to reflect, talk, and just kind of think about our marriage and our lives. So I guess it's like another memory we're creating. So we're now doing something we hadn't been doing. So now we're creating memories together, and it's just a lot of fun to kind of anticipate the next trip. I know we're going to be doing something in Mexico soon. We'll be going to Low Carb USA and KetoCon. I think KetoCon in July, Low Carb USA in August. So we'll turn these so-called speaking engagements for me into trips, and we may even bring our sons to one of those. So and we're definitely family. Our memories are not just us. We travel with our parents. We don't mind doing that at all. It's really a lot of fun to have them, and we, kind of sometimes we do different things and hook up for dinner. But it's nice to keep those memories coming. So, but you like creating memories for sure. So, what's your thoughts on creating memories together?
Oh, I do love creating memories because life has your stressors. So when you have those memories or those days that you're like, oh, you know what? This is really tough. The memories are the ones that's in that part of your brain I call the happy space that
Hmm.
you can always just reach back and grab one of those fond memories and go, wow, okay, I can take that other step or I can take that leap.
That's cool. And I know another thing that we do on a regular basis is that we are the first persons that we call. So when something's going on, I'm like, oh, I had a great experience with a patient who got off medicines, or you're celebrating, oh, I just got a role in a new play. We call each other first, and I think you don't have to be in a relationship, a marriage. It could be a friend, it could be a sibling, it could be a parent. But man, it's so nice to share your journey with other people, and to walk with other people, and it just means so much more. So so when you think about how we always share news with each other, what do you like about that the most?
I the part that I really love is the fact that there is someone there that you have to share something with, and that significant other, spouse, your like you said, siblings, our young men. Just having someone there to share not just the good news, but any kind of news that there may be. To me, that just that connection with someone
Hmm.
helps.
Yeah, I agree. And we also, um, share our thoughts and memories when we are taking walks. In Chicago, it seems like we only have about 3 months to do walks in the nice weather, and we're in the middle of that now. But I love taking those walks, and I love holding hands when we take walks. I love, I think when we first started taking walks, we would focus on like, how people are decorating their lawns, and maybe, dream about the nice house here versus the other house over there. And then we started paying, then I said, well, let's pay attention to nature. And we started paying attention to the birds and the squirrels. And that kind of took it to another level. But we always would kind of have fun with planes. So talk a little bit about how we would, when we saw a plane crossing over, what would we talk about
So
in those
because
moments?
I'm really goofy, we will see a plane flying, and my thing would, so where do you think they're going? And we would come up with wherever they think they're going, and then I would ask you to tell me a story about where they're going, and just, you know some kind of story, so that even though we're not on that flight or that plane, we get to have some sort of experience with the people that are on there. So that was fun. And then it kind of takes you out of, oh my goodness, it's hot, or how far have we walked kind of thing. Because
Right.
conversations, having those conversations always kind of ease that trip, that walk, which is
Yeah,
cool.
I agree. And now, although I'm not walking all the time with your dad, when we sit on the deck, we definitely look at the planes. And he tends to say they're all, leaving Chicago, but and not going to, Hawaii or something like that. But we continue that theme that you started, and I do it with your dad a lot these days too. So I think that's awesome. And holding hands and feeling butterflies. Wow, that sounds like a girl thing. Guys don't do that. So you feel butterflies. That's interesting when we hold
Yes.
hands. Yeah.
So this year we will be celebrating how many years of marriage?
29.
So it's 29 years of marriage in June. So yes, so the butterflies are still there.
Yeah.
So, holding your hand or looking at your eyes, or some of the things that you say, that goes back to pulling up those memories that I have placed in that certain part of my brain, definitely gives me butterflies, that I can smile and act really giddy.
That's cool. I love that. And I think also how, even though I'm kind of clean shaven, most of the times when I record an episode, I think you would prefer I had a little salt and pepper going on. I'm not talking about the singers. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about some salt and pepper that reminds us that we've been married for 29 years, right? So you like a little goatee thing going, and so you can kind of made that my nickname. But in the image that we are sharing, guys, is talking about how we love talking on the phone, and sometimes we'll do that because we're so busy on the drive home and things like that. So uh, you like being on the phone, even though you've been on the phone all day at the pharmacy, right?
I know, but it's a different kind of phone call. Even though sometimes I am asking, so what would you tell a patient for? But it's
Right.
still different because of the connection that we have. And one of the things that I love about, like you said, spending time, because we are busy on the phone, is talking about some of our stressors that we possibly can get out on the phone on those rides home. And stressors could be
Hmm.
anything pertaining to your work day or something like that. So I love that. And the fact that you'll say to me, do you want me to listen or do you want advice? So that's pretty
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, that's a technique, and that's why I think, guys, I mentioned the books, but even a relationship coach, you can learn a ton of things from talking to people, and that simple principle of, do you want me to listen or do you want me to give advice? That'll keep you from falling into these little traps, because if a person's not really looking for advice and you're giving it, it can be a problem. So I think just asking in advance is a good way to go. And again, you don't learn this stuff, when you're born. You have to hear a technique and then apply it in your life. And another thing that you tell me is that you don't mind being around me every minute of every day. That sounds excessive, Karan. So you really feel like you want to be around me that much, Karan?
I do. I don't have to be up under you
Right.
every second of the day or every minute, but being around you, yes. I think that when you have a connection with
Hmm.
someone, or you love someone, or you respect someone, I think you don't have a problem being within that person's reach.
Hmm.
And it's not so much as, oh, I have to have a tab on you. It's the fact that, you know what, if I need a glass of water, possibly that. No, 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 no. But I really, no, I really like being around. I like to hear your stories. I like to be a part of your day, to be a part of making your memory for that day in a fun way.
And even when we're apart, we find a way to try to make that work. One thing I think we could probably do better is to do more FaceTime. Like, you know what I mean? So I was talking to a friend who worked with me previously and FaceTime. And it just seems like using that technology may be helpful. Now, it's not, we haven't really had to be apart because we're in the middle of a pandemic. But imagine when things change and there's more travel and you can't make the trips with me, we may want to just do it that way. I'm just thinking out loud as we're kind of
Oh,
having
I'm
this
crying
conversation.
already. I can't
Oh,
make the trip.
you'll make the trip, I promise,
Okay.
most of the time. And as we laugh, we recognize that it is laughter is important. And I've said over and over again, and I want everybody listening to hear Dr. Hampton is funny. She doesn't think I'm funny. I don't know why she don't think I'm funny, but I think laughter is important. So why don't you think I'm funny, Karan?
Because you think that you're funny. And one of the things that we do at home when our boys were younger, we would often, have little shows or little skits that we would do. And even if we would start, again, because I'm goofy, start a song off and everyone would make their part up. When it came to you, you were just stuck. Or if we would start to do something or say, okay, let's do this comedy thing, and everyone would start and laugh and do something, and you were just kind of, and we'd look at each other and we just laugh. You're not funny.
Yeah,
But it's
I
okay for you to think that if you believe that you are funny, we're going to support that.
for everybody listening to this episode or watching the YouTube channel, I need some support. So put in the comments that Dr. Hampton is funny.
Yes,
No,
but do me a favor if you can, put a joke at the bottom.
right. So I'll have something to
So
say.
he'll have some material.
That'll work. That's probably a good idea. So you also mentioned that you like to gaze, and I'm not going to say what I'm when I'm staring at you and gazing. I'm not going to tell you what I'm looking at, but you like to gaze sometimes. Sometimes I will look up and see you kind of checking me out, and that's something that's kind of cute and something you think about, kids doing, but we still do that as grown folks, huh?
We do, and I think it's important for, just because you are married, you can still flirt with each other. So
Mm,
I think so when I think about gazing across the room and looking at you, I think about flirting with you.
nice.
So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun and more serious thoughts. When I think about like appreciation, right? And I think we can take people for granted often. It just becomes autopilot, particularly when you've been married for 29 years. And I just, I do appreciate you. And I appreciate you saying to me in this nice book you put together that you appreciate me. The sacrifices are just endless. Rather, it's keeping the house together, how we support your dad, how we are continuing to support the kids. I mean, who do they call? No, they don't call Dr. Hampton. They don't call Ghostbusters. They call mom. They call mom, and when they call me, it's usually a medical question, but they call you first. So I do appreciate your role. I appreciate your role in the lives of my mom, my Papa Ed, my stepdad, and the whole crew, because there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that's us, and so I appreciate you. So, your any thoughts on appreciation?
Well, I definitely thank you for saying that, but I, over and above, appreciate everything that you have given to our family, our young men. And now, because we have taken on the responsibility of taking care of my father that has dementia, I thank you for that because it's huge. And just with the journeys of me with diabetes and just everything. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's been a joy, and I think I did a YouTube video with your dad, and we did some singing, and you laugh because I will know the lyrics to some of these country songs. I certainly didn't know that before he showed up. It's
Right.
like crazy, and so I do appreciate even in moments when people think it's going to be difficult and only see the hard part. I appreciate that I have him in my life as a clinician. I know dementia like I've never known before, and just the relationship I'm continuing to establish with him, and the challenges. So you have to kind of twist it into something positive, and that's what we've been able to do. One of the things that we did more regularly, and we haven't done as much since he's been around, is we would watch uh, our favorite, Netflix episode, and although we're starting to do that again, that was some of the best time because we'd be done with dinner or we'd be eating dinner and then we can check out a Netflix episode. So we're getting back into that. But what about that do you like the most? Being able to hook up and
Well,
watch something together.
that became sort of a ritual, which was pretty cool. So it was something that, I had to look forward to knowing that no matter what or how busy we were with our lives, that was our ritual of connection. So it's pretty cool that we get into a show and we like that show. And I'd always want more of the show
Yeah,
because no matter what, come on, can we just do one more episode? Just one more. And then when it get towards the end, it's like, oh, but then we would always seem to find something else via someone telling us about a show that, they thought that we would like, or, everything is smart TVs now will kind of lend you to something else, that's more favorable of what your watching habits were. But loving those because it was definitely a connection. And then you get to kind of talk about what the show was
hmm,
about and then seeing the other person's point of view on that show. It's like, really? You thought that?
right.
Didn't take that away from
I know.
it. So that
We
was pretty cool though.
Yeah, we definitely saw the world differently. So it is amazing how you see the same thing, and would um, yeah. I mean that's it reminds me of, you remember that incident we had, not incident, but we were in a theater and it was a movie. I think Mandel maybe, but it was a movie where young ladies were behind us, and you
Oh,
remember that? And
yes,
it was a movie, and we were like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to see this movie." And they had a response that was quite the opposite,
totally opposite. Yes.
and they thought it was going to be some boring, you know what, and I just imagine. So I'm thinking, man, I'm like excited to see this movie, and they can't even see it. So it is amazing how we see the world differently, and that's how it goes. So another thing that we have an image of is thanking, thank you for believing in me, right? And that happens often. Like, people don't realize no matter what your level of success, you're always going to have doubts. Every time I get in front of people and talk, every time I do a podcast, like even in this moment, recording a podcast, I never like click play or record and just go at it with like extreme confidence. I just, there's always a little nervousness. And when you have a partner who is encouraging you to do things that maybe you would pause to do, I think that's very important. I certainly have tried to encourage you with your acting, for example. I think that that's a talent that you have, and I want you to continue to pursue that. But how do you feel about this idea of, you know, believing in somebody and saying, you can do it, you can do it?
Well, I think that's important in every aspect of someone's life. Just having that person in your corner saying that, hey, I believe in you. If there's something that you want to do, as we talk about, take a leap of faith on something, as long as there's someone there to say, you know what, you can do this. and have faith in that person enough that if they try and if they were not successful or have different opportunities, if you have someone there in your corner that what, okay, I can do it. I can do it. I do believe in myself because someone else there is standing beside me that also believes in me.
That's right. And
So
I,
thank
and
you
I,
for that.
oh yeah, I got your back. And I think we also think about how, we talked about how different we are, right? And I remember when I was in New Orleans and I had to face a robbery moment, right? And in that
Mhm.
moment, with a gun on my head, leaving a club with a few friends. It was during the day and after the party or before, I can't remember. But in that moment, I felt like calm. Now, a lot of things were going through my head, right? But I just felt calm. And sometimes you're like, the world could be falling apart and you're like acting like nothing's wrong. So we're different in terms of how we deal with moments like that. So you said that I help calm you down, right? So when you made that statement, what were you saying?
Because I think I'm also a very anxious person. So sometimes the tiniest things can get under my skin, and you're like, baby, it's not all that. Please just calm down. Don't worry, which I know that our youngest took that from you. If the sun doesn't rise, it's going to be all right.
That's right.
Me, I'm like, where's the sun? So, but you definitely have that calmer mode to you, which is pretty cool, which was good with rearing children because
Mm.
I'm the one that, okay, I'm not going to keep asking you more than one time. First time I'm going to ask you, I'm going to assume that you didn't hear me. The second time, okay, all the things are being unplugged, no more toys, no more
Right.
games. And you're like, no, we can handle this. And even
Hmm.
when it comes to just being in a calm mode of, my father, with him
Hmm.
having dementia and stuff. And I know they always say that the caregiver is the one that has to take on everything. And it's kind of difficult being called different names and different things like that. And you're like, oh my God, but I'm helping and I want to help. And
Hmm.
you're having to say, baby, it's not your dad, it's the disease.
Mm.
It's this. And so that part of the calming down part is really good and interesting because you do have the more of the level set with
Hmm.
when it deals with the emotional ups and downs. So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, and it's been a joy to again have your dad. And I didn't know your dad like I do now. And when he first came, the dementia wasn't as far along, so slightly different than it is now. But it's been a joy to again just make that connection. And I know you appreciate that we bonded like that. But it's actually mutually beneficial, and I don't hang out with a lot of people, right? So I get a chance to just kind of be a guy and talk about crazy stuff you talk about at the barbershop, but I can do it pretty much all day, when I'm with your dad. So it's actually been mutually beneficial. So I feel like that's been a gift. So I thank him for, again, supporting you. I know when you lost your mom, that was very difficult. I think she was in her 50s, and he had to, you talk to your mom like you do with my mom now, multiple times throughout the day, and to know that he was able to kind of pick that mantle up and to kind of be the person you can now call is really kind of cool. So the least we can do is honor him and give him the love and support that he gave us throughout the years, and certainly you as he raised you. So I know you love your dad.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. In terms of balance, right? So we're kind of speaking to that in a way because you're saying when you're not calm, I help calm you, and that's why if you're listening to this and you're saying, "Well, man, I got to find somebody that's like me," I'd say not really. I don't think you have to find anybody like you at all. In fact, you may benefit more, and it may be more intriguing to find somebody that sees the world a little differently, and then you have to be open to maybe giving. I mean, think about it. When you first came to Chicago, you weren't really a basketball fan like I
Not
am.
at all.
Not at all. And next thing you know, because you were able to give and, you said, okay, I'll go to some games. Next thing you know, we have season tickets. Who'd have thought? And we taking our little bundles of joy in freezing weather to basketball games throughout the year. And that's pretty amazing when you think about, and then I would, not be that interested in watching Andy Griffin, to be honest with you, not really. I certainly would enjoy Barney Fife and and all of that good stuff when I'm watching it, but I would be able to give a little bit and lean towards the things that you like. So I think it is a balance. So why do you think balance is so important in relationships?
For those exact things that you just said, definitely, when you're in any relationships, be it with your siblings, your children, your significant other, your spouse, just balancing each other, trying
Hmm.
again, as you always say, seeing the world through that person's lens. And the only way that I think that you can possibly do that is to put yourself within their lens with them, within that setting. So your love for basketball, me saying, okay, well, let me give this a try. And then me wanting,
Hmm.
okay, what time is the game on kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then your knowing that I love my old black and white movies or TV shows. And even when it comes to movies, I like the romantic, funny ones, and you like the war ones and things like that. Having
Hmm.
to sit and say, okay, well, let's try each other's version of whatever that person likes. And then you also gain and learn something from that too. So
Hmm.
now I don't have to just go somewhere and sit and other people are talking about the war movies or talking about basketball. I can interject and say, hey, well, I know what this stands for. I can kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah, it does. It does expand your scope, and I that's happened to me too when people bring up some old show, especially the ones that are from other countries that you watch. I'm like, and they would mention that, say, "Oh yeah," and it's like crazy. I would have never known those things if it wasn't for me being exposed by you, and vice versa. So, but I also know that when it comes to our greatest creation, it's those two boys, right?
Yes,
Brandon and Justin. And again, after we record this episode, and you'll be hearing it a week later, for those who are hearing or listening, this is the graduation weekend at WashU for undergrad and for masters. And so we're really excited. And I know that that's our greatest accomplishment is to bring these two beautiful children together in our lives, and I know that's your love, and I don't know if I disappeared, you'd probably be okay because you got your boys, right? So talk a little bit about what that means to you.
so yes, when you talk about greatest accomplishments, I think that our two unions coming together and us being blessed with Brandon and Justin is just great. Definitely have made us proud. Definitely have given us to the point where I wanted to say, "What are you doing? Wake up, listen,
Right.
watch." But um, celebrating the graduation, I mean, it's really good, and just to see them come from being little ones that you were so afraid to let their hands go
Mm-hmm.
to now getting ready to fly on their own and be independent is just great. And our youngest, we found out the news that he got accepted into the MBA program at WashU as well with a scholarship, full tuition scholarship. So that is just awesome. Just proud of them to see the world now through their lenses or try and see it through their lenses and their different accomplishments. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely, and I have to give a shout out to Providence St. Mel's in Chicago on the west side. It's a small school in the middle of a tough neighborhood, yet they just do a great job of helping kids in that community go to some of the best schools in the country. And I remember when I walked on the campus of Washington University, and I was like, I want to live here. I looked at the housing. I said, I want to live in one of these. So food was great, the housing was great, and of course the environment and culture was great. So we're very proud, and Justin will stay and get his master's there, and we're just going to continue that tradition of trying to focus on the education. So
Definitely. And I'm definitely very proud of them. And I have to say, though, anything that they have opportunities for growth, I blame you. So they're your kids then. When they're doing
Yeah.
everything great, they're mine.
Yeah, I remember. So so thank you. It's been fun to kind of walk through some of those aspects of our marriage and our lives. And I know the image that says, to sum it all up, you say, "I'm so lucky to love you as my partner, Tony." So I return that to you. And you also wrote, can all this be true? I have been blessed with the man that warms my heart and fills me through and through. You are my love, the one that completes me. I believe in you. Thank you, my friend, my lover, my husband, for completing me. Uh, that sounds like Jerry Maguire. That's You Complete Me. That's some Tom Cruise stuff. So thank you. One of our favorite movies, by the way. Jerry Maguire, Show Me the Money, all that good stuff is really what it's all about. So, and you also say, Tony, I hope this book was able to illustrate exactly how much I love you. Each page holds a special place in my heart because they represent every little reason why I fell in love with you. When you read this book, I want you to know that you are my everything, and I will always be forever yours. Love, Karan. So again, I received that. You said, I will never give up on us, and that is 100% true. And together until the end. So nice. That was one of the best gifts you could have ever given me. It was well written. It reminded me of so many things that we had experienced over our lives, and just the nuances of how you perceive things was really cool. So I want to thank you for sharing a little bit of yourself today. I hope the people who are watching, listening, got to know you a little bit better. And as we kind of wrap up, and I share a few closing remarks, anything else you'd like to share with my audience today, Karan?
Well, I do. I would like to tell everyone again, I'm the goofy one. So I think about marriage or relationship as an airline. So Hampton's Air.
Ah,
And I think about you as the pilot, and I am the co pilot, and our boys, our young men, as a part of the crew. Our family members and friends are a part of the passengers. So no matter what we're doing, we are flying the plane, and sometimes we can automatically let it go into autopilot and we're just cruising along. And then sometimes there is turbulence. So we just make sure that we always have our seatbelts on. No matter what, we make sure that the crew, our young men, are okay, that their seatbelts on, and they have to return to their seats so that everything can be okay. We When we allow ourselves to fly the plane by ourselves without having the pilot, the co-pilot, just knowing that that person is still there with them always. And the turbulence could be anything from, oh my goodness, someone didn't get their grades right away, or
mm,
wait, what happened? We didn't pay this light bill, or anything like that. Just making sure that no matter what the turbulence is, no matter if you wanted to try and fly the plane by yourself, like I am like I'm doing as far as trying to do my acting, that you always know, no matter what, the destination is home.
mm, I love that. So it's like, a little flight thing we're doing now. So nice way to wrap up. That's very creative, Karan. I love that. So very good. So thank you again. I appreciate this. And again, let's spread this message to all those who will hear or see it. So thank you so much for being here, Karan. Okay.
And thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So as we conclude, Karan, I want to thank you for being my biggest cheerleader. And by the way, she was a cheerleader back in the day, a cheerleader through my ups and downs and supporting me no matter what. I want to thank you for adding meaning to my life and allowing me to be part of something much bigger than myself. I want to thank you for supporting me both emotionally and spiritually through it all. I want to thank you for being such a great mom for Justin and Brandon, and also becoming my mom's best friend because you guys talk all the time. And finally, I want to thank you for helping me spread the message to my audience of the importance, the value of having healthy relationships, which is one of the best ways to protect your nest. And for those who are listening, or watching today's episode. I hope our little love story provided a little inspiration for you today. So let's all continue to nurture all the relationships in our lives by doing, what we need to do to be healthier and, of course, happier. So as we conclude episode 100 of the
Yes.
Protecting Your Nest podcast, I only ask that you continue to be safe, be well, and continue to protect your nest. And again, thank you again, my dear wife, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I love you.
I love you too.
3, 4, or
Oh,
5.
oh, right. I love you 3. Okay, you got me. All right, I'm done. Take care, baby.